Welcome to Hoopzone Sport News, where today we're diving deep into the New York Knicks' upcoming 2024 to 2025 season. One of the hottest topics surrounding the Knicks is their blockbuster trade for Karl-Anthony Towns, a move that sent shockwaves through the league. This trade, which saw Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo head out, signals the Knicks' commitment to winning right now. But with so many moving parts, questions are swirling around how this team will look, how they'll perform, and what their ceiling is for this season. Let's begin by addressing the elephant in the room. Karl-Anthony Towns, one of the most skilled big men in the game, is now in New York. For years, Towns has been a dominant force for the Timberwolves, leading the franchise in three-pointers while being a consistent 20-plus points per game scorer. Now, paired with the Knicks' rising star Jalen Brunson, Towns brings another dynamic to a team that has its eyes set on a deep playoff run. But what does this mean for the team's chemistry, especially with Mitchell Robinson returning later in the season? There are two critical questions here. How will Tom Thibodeau manage the rotation when Robinson comes back, and can the Knicks sustain their defensive identity with Towns as the centerpiece in the paint? First, let's talk about Towns' impact. He's not only an offensive juggernaut, but also an underrated passer. We've already seen glimpses of his chemistry with Jalen Brunson in preseason action. The two-man game they've developed is a beauty to watch. With Brunson's quick decision-making and Towns' ability to stretch the floor, this offense has the potential to be one of the most dangerous in the league. The spacing that Towns provides will open up lanes for Brunson and the rest of the Knicks' perimeter players to attack the rim or find open shots from deep. On the defensive end, there's no denying that Towns has had his struggles, especially when compared to a rim protector like Mitchell Robinson. But Thibodeau, who has a reputation for defensive-minded basketball, is expected to maximize Towns' strengths and mitigate his weaknesses. With the right schemes, Towns can hold his own in the paint, especially when you consider the athleticism and help defense provided by players like R.J. Barrett and Josh Hart. So, what happens when Robinson is healthy? Do the Knicks move Towns to power forward, or does Robinson take a back seat as a backup? While Thibodeau hasn't committed to an answer, the prevailing thought is that if Towns is thriving at center, there's no need to disrupt that flow. Robinson could return as a high-impact backup, ensuring the Knicks have a strong interior presence at all times. This would give New York one of the most versatile front courts in the league, with the ability to match up against both big and small lineups. Another major storyline this season is whether the Knicks will continue to be active on the trade market. After an offseason that saw significant moves, including the addition of Landry Shamet, the Knicks still have a few areas that might need addressing as the season progresses. With a stockpile of second-round picks and some tradable contracts, don't be surprised if they make another move, especially if injuries or defensive lapses arise. Thibodeau and the front office have made it clear that this season is about one thing: competing for a championship. There's also the question of how the team will perform against the elite competition in the Eastern Conference. With teams like the Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, and Miami Heat all loading up for a title run, the Knicks will need to bring their A-game every night. But the addition of Towns, combined with the continued growth of players like Brunson, Barrett, and Quentin Grimes, gives New York a fighting chance to not only compete, but potentially upset one of these top-tier teams in a playoff series. Looking beyond Towns, the Knicks' depth will also be a key factor in their success. Players like Jericho Sims and Precious Achiuwa are expected to fill important roles off the bench, while newcomers like Shamet will need to make an immediate impact. It's a long season, and staying healthy will be crucial for a team with championship aspirations. Thibodeau is known for running his starters hard, so managing minutes and keeping players fresh will be a delicate balance. In conclusion, the Knicks are all in. The trade for Karl-Anthony Towns signals that the front office believes this team is ready to compete at the highest level. With an offense that could be electric and a defense anchored by one of the best tacticians in the league, New York has the tools to make a deep playoff run. Will they be able to knock off the heavyweights in the East and bring a championship back to Madison Square Garden for the first time in decades? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure. This Knicks team is poised to make noise. So, what do you think? Are the Knicks legit title contenders with Towns in the mix? How do you see the rotation shaking out once Mitchell Robinson returns? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to HoopZone Sport News for all the latest updates on the Knicks and the rest of the NBA. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Welcome to Hoopzone Sport News, where we dive deep into the latest and greatest around the NBA. Today we're focusing on the New York Knicks and their 2024 to 2025 season. A lot of eyes are on this team, especially after the big offseason moves. One of the most significant storylines, of course, is how the Knicks plan to integrate Karl-Anthony Towns into the mix, particularly when their star center Mitchell Robinson returns from injury. We'll explore the possibilities for how Tom Thibodeau might handle this situation, along with several other key questions the Knicks are facing as they prepare for the new season. First up, let's address the big question. How will Karl-Anthony Towns fit into the Knicks lineup, especially when Mitchell Robinson returns from injury? Robinson, who has been a staple in the Knicks' defense, is expected to return somewhere between December and January, depending on how his rehab progresses. But the fact is, Robinson has dealt with injuries in the past, which leaves room for uncertainty. The Knicks, for their part, are likely evaluating how their centers perform early in the season. They'll look closely at Towns' effectiveness defensively, and they'll also gauge what they have with backup centers Jericho Sims and Precious Achiuwa. The team might give Towns some time to settle in at the center position, but if the Knicks struggle defensively, especially if they're not protecting the paint well, the situation could prompt them to explore other options. They might consider shifting things around once Robinson is back to full health. Towns is undeniably one of the best offensive big men in the game, but his defensive limitations could be an issue, especially if the Knicks are looking to compete with the top-tier teams in the Eastern Conference like Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia. If Towns thrives in the role, though, Robinson may end up being used as a backup or as a defensive specialist in certain matchups. That leads to the next question. If Robinson comes back healthy, could we see Towns moving to the 4, or will the Knicks keep him at the 5? Based on the early messaging from the Knicks after they acquired Towns, it sounds like they view him primarily as a center. They made this move to fill a need in the middle of the floor, and they believe they've addressed that need with one of the most skilled offensive big men in the league. So the expectation is that Towns will stay at the 5, at least to start the season. Of course, if things aren't clicking with Towns as the starting center, especially if the defense is struggling, there could be adjustments. Thibodeau has shown in the past that he's willing to shake things up if it means better results on the floor. We might see a scenario similar to what the Minnesota Timberwolves did, with Rudy Gobert playing alongside Towns last season, with Robinson potentially taking on that defensive anchor role, while Towns moves to the 4 and focuses more on his offensive strengths. It's a situation to monitor closely as the season progresses, particularly when Robinson is cleared to return. Another big storyline this season revolves around the Knicks' roster depth. The team made significant moves in the offseason, and one key player to watch is Landry Shamet. His role on this team is still somewhat of a mystery. Shamet is dealing with an injury heading into the season, and it's unclear how much time he'll miss. That said, if he's out for an extended period, the Knicks may need to get creative with their backcourt rotations. They've got options, with guys like Emmanuel Quickley and Quentin Grimes capable of stepping up, but if Shamet's absence leaves a void, they could be active in the trade market again. Speaking of trades, the Knicks have been one of the most active teams over the past couple of off seasons, and some fans are wondering if they'll continue to be aggressive in that regard. This is a team that's built to win now, and they've made it clear that they're aiming for nothing less than a deep playoff run, possibly a championship. After acquiring Towns and making a few other moves, some might wonder if the Knicks are done dealing for now. The answer likely depends on how the team performs in the first few weeks of the season. If the Knicks come out strong and are competing on both ends of the floor, it's possible they'll stand pat and stick with the roster they've assembled. But if there are signs of weakness, whether it's on the defensive end, particularly off the bench, or in terms of their scoring depth, they'll likely explore their options on the trade market. While they don't have a lot of high-value assets left to trade, they do hold a number of second-round picks that could be enticing to teams looking to shed salary or retool their rosters. Mitchell Robinson's contract could also be a trade chip, though the uncertainty around his health could make teams hesitant to pull the trigger on a deal. Ultimately, the Knicks are in win-now mode, and they can't afford to be weak at any position, especially in the highly competitive Eastern Conference. They'll need to see how their rotation shakes out, particularly at the center position with Towns, Sims, and Akiwa in the mix, and make adjustments as necessary. The goal is clear: compete with the best teams in the league, and to do that, they'll need consistency from their core group and strong contributions from their role players. There's also a lot of curiosity about some of the younger players on the roster. One name that has come up is Tyler Cook, a guy who's been solid in the preseason. The question here is whether Cook can carve out a regular role in the Knicks rotation. Going into training camp, it didn't seem like he was part of the immediate plans, but with injuries and other roster moves, that could change. Cook has shown some promise, particularly on the defensive end, and he's someone the coaching staff is keeping a close eye on. Whether or not he gets significant minutes this season will depend on how the Knicks rotation shakes out as the season progresses. At the end of the day, this Knicks team is built to compete, and they've got their eyes on the prize, a deep playoff run and potentially an NBA title. But to get there, they'll need to answer a lot of questions, both about their roster and their overall strategy, how they handle the integration of Karl-Anthony Towns, how they manage Mitchell Robinson's return, and how they adjust to any potential struggles will all be crucial factors. The Knicks have put themselves in a position to contend, but the season ahead will test whether they have the pieces in place to truly make a run at the championship. As we head into the season, we want to hear from you, the fans. What do you think? Will Karl-Anthony Towns thrive as the Knicks' starting center, or will Mitchell Robinson reclaim that role once he's back? Do you think the Knicks will need to make more moves, or is this roster good enough to compete with the best teams in the East? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to HoopZone Sport News, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. Your support means everything to us, and we can't wait to bring you more in-depth Knicks coverage throughout the season. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.